Shalom. The name of this video is Palpable Papal Ignorance. My name is Yeshua Yaakov. The Pope slammed capitalism. Well, let me just put the Pope, present to the Pope one little detail that before you start lecturing people, you want to check up on your own backyard. Specifically, I'm referring to the collapse of the local reality globally, the man's exile. That's not on the papal radar yet, and your criticism of capitalism is it's far-fetched. You don't understand it. You don't understand the problem. The end of man's exile was the crisis of culture. It's not capitalism. I noticed that the criticism was leveled against capitalism, but it excluded communism. Well, the abuses of exile were common to both systems, East and West, and both communism and capitalism collapsed. This seems to have escaped the papal radar also. Okay, so what comes after the collapse of the world economy is humanomics. This also escaped the papal radar. So before you start lecturing people, Your Holiness, Your Excellence, you should learn Economics 101, you should learn some social science, and you better dig a little bit deeper before you start making papal pronouncements about capitalism. But that said, capitalism's palpable fear and greed was certainly. There are two things that have to be said in absolute fairness, and that is that the extremes that inflated financial services to the level of a third of the gross domestic product of the U.S. economy was a bubble. And interestingly, when that bubble burst, it dissipated that value. About $10 trillion disappeared in market cap or worth. But interestingly, the many people who invested their cash flow in buying these capital instruments for their retirement were also devastated by it. So that's a legitimate criticism that the Pope did level. But in fact, wealth creation is based upon a prescription. And the prescription has changed historically. Division of labor was the prescription. Mass production of the Industrial Revolution. We're in the post-industrial era. The new prescription is integration of labor. That is not, it hasn't made it on the papal radar. And so I advise that the Pope learn a little bit about the integration of labor, the new paradigm, because the G20 has to lead the way to develop it as world-class global technologic infrastructure that will create massively tens of millions and eventually hundreds of millions of jobs throughout the G20 in the world. So that's it. That's my message. There's a palpable papal ignorance about macroeconomics, and absent a prescription, I submit that the Pope should stick to his knitting. And number one, and number two, if he's a spiritual leader, let him explain why he has not managed to recognize the collapse of the local reality globally that has ended man and mankind's exile. I don't even think he knows what that means in terms of the collapse of the local reality, what I'm even talking about. The model of man's mind that was giving to receive is equally the same in application reductionally in both East and West systems. Communism and capitalism collapsed in both places, and it applies to every individual on the planet. Okay, so that's not on the papal radar yet, and until it is, he's not very credible when he's out lecturing people about macroeconomics. Thank you for listening. I'm Yeshua Yaakov, and sorry to be so tough on you, Mr. Pope Benedict XVI, but it's necessary to put the cards on the table. Thank you for listening. I'm Yeshua Yaakov from Jerusalem.